Okay. All right. So I am obviously teaching by myself today, so I don't have a separate person manning the cameras. So I have my assistant, pre-recorded Linda. So she will be teaching live in real time, and I am going to be here in the chat as well as like in the audio if you have any questions. So feel free to keep your audio on, or if you want to type your questions instead, that's also okay. I'm going to turn my video off because I find that helps a little with the with the video quality, but I will be here. Here we go.
All right. Hello, 你好 everyone, and 欢迎 welcome to.
Actually, give me a sec. Let me share again to make sure that the audio is sharing properly. Okay, here we go.
手撕包菜 hand-torn cabbage class, and okay, well, we are already joined by our feline sous chefs. That was Howell. All right, so today the start of our show is going to be 我们的白菜, our cabbage over here. But usually with Chinese cooking, 就是我们一般不会就是只做一道菜. So usually we won't make just one dish. So actually what we're going to do at the very beginning of the class is finish off the suggested cold tossed chicken or tofu recipe that I sent everyone in email. So I won't be cooking this live today, since today's class is going to be focused on 我们的手撕包菜, our hand-torn cabbage. But I will show everyone, hello, how I finish off this accompanying dish.
Okay, so real quick, a note for future classes. So for these monthly cook-alongs, I've decided to, because in the past, right, like I've taught 3 dishes at once often. So I'm going to pare that down a little bit. So for example, today's class, we're focusing on the 手撕包菜 or hand-torn cabbage. But I will always recommend kind of the pairing recipe from a dish that we've already learned in the past. So that way you can have like a full dinner table if you're making an entire meal. All right, here we go.
This is my kitchen, by the way. I have all of my recipe cards kind of posted up for easy convenience. Usually all my sauces are here, but I have them set up over here for cooking today. All right, so I'm just gonna take a couple of seconds or 1 minute to finish off my cold tossed tofu this time. So I've already prepped everything in advance. So cubed the tofu, that took about 30 seconds, chopped up some scallion whites and mixed them with peanuts. And then I've already pre-made my panda sauce. And again, the instructions are all on the recipe card over here. So I'm just going to dump it in real quick and give it a good old mix. All right, I forgot a spoon. Okay. So this is called 凉拌鸡, 凉拌鸡, or in this case, 凉拌豆腐, 凉拌豆腐. And it's a really nice, simple, easy protein dish that is packed full of flavor that you can pair with a veggie dish like the one we're about to make today. So the nice thing about this is it's a great dish to make in advance, 因为它是凉菜. So 凉菜 is literally just cool dish or cool veggie. Although in Chinese, 菜 or vegetable, the character for vegetable, it just means dish to begin with. All right, and so we're gonna just leave it aside, set it aside to give it a good soak, and then we're going to move on to our main recipe of the day. Oh, actually, as a quick last note before we start, a cleaning tip that I got from my ADHD coach. which is one of the things I hate about cooking is the cleanup afterwards. It like takes so long and everything is crusted. So what I do is I fill the sink up with a little bit of soapy water. So there's a lot of bubble here, but the water level is not super high. And I just toss everything in there so that at the end of the day, it's easy to toss in the dishwasher, or in this case, in my apartment studio, I am the dishwasher, but soaking it makes it so much easier to clean up after myself. All right, let's get cooking. 好，那我们开始。So 第一件事, the first thing I actually do when I start cooking is I gather all of my tools in one place. And so this is something that is really helpful if you find it really hard to get started or get in the mental space of cooking. So this is basically like you're going on a journey, right? 然后我们需要就是收集我们的工具. So we need to gather all of our tools. So here we have our cutting board. I also have a little one over here. We have a tablespoon and teaspoon, 一个大勺，一个小勺, to help with our measurements, although we can always guesstimate. 一个盘子 or 一个大碗 for serving, a plate for serving, a little bowl to mix the sauce, 一个小碗用来调料, and then of course our trusty cleaver, and then we are going to have our wok scoop and our wok, which I actually already have set up. Hello. Set up over here, ready to go. All right. How? I'm gonna step on you one day. Okay. All right. And some other helpful things to have on hand. I usually just have a little, look like it's a crabs, just a little, you know, like compost scrap container, so I don't have to keep walking back and forth from the 垃圾桶, the trash can, and I usually have some sort of little plate to hold my aromatics, and then this is also where I put 就是我的锅铲, my wok scoop, when I'm stir frying, so I have somewhere to rest the wok. All right. Now the next thing after we have gathered our tools, right, 就是收集完工具以后, is to gather and prep all of our ingredients at once. And so in French, they call this mise en place, and in Linda's speech, I call it having all my shit in one place so I don't forget something while I'm cooking, which is what I already always do. Okay, so first I'm going to just point out all of the condiments that don't need to really be prepped or cut. And so these are going to be the soy sauce, vinegar, Shaoxing wine. So here we have 酱油, soy sauce, 镇江 vinegar, Chinese black vinegar. If you don't have this on hand, you can also use aged balsamic in a pinch, and Shaoxing cooking wine, which you can also use sherry as a substitute. And you are also going to grab the sesame oil.
So a quick note here, that was my mistake. Even though I've made this dish 5 times last week, apparently I still don't know what goes in it. So the sesame oil is not necessary, so you don't need it.
Your vegetable oil, MSG, optional, and salt, sugar, tang, and Sichuan peppercorn. And as for our fresh ingredients, we are going to need ginger, garlic, and half a head of small cabbage. So Hannah in her recipe recommends around 300 grams. I find that to be about half a head of smallish cabbage, but the main thing is that you don't want to have too much cabbage in your wok, 要不然 the cabbage like steams instead of really caramelizes and sears. So if you are going to be cooking 一整个白菜, a big, you know, thing of cabbage, then split your stir fry into 2. And of course our dry peppers. So what we're gonna do is we are just going to prep everything so that when we start stir frying, 就是我们开始炒的时候, everything is just ready to go into the wok, and we don't have to, you know, like worry about measuring or like the garlic's not minced, right? We're gonna do everything ahead of time. So I'm gonna set this aside for now. Yeah, move my iPad over. So let's start with prepping our 白菜, our cabbage. So we want basically to tear this cabbage into approximately 3-inch piece squares. So actually we're not gonna use our cleaver, we're just gonna use our hands. And so supposedly this makes it kind of like tastier and jaggedy. All right. So I am actually just going to use the bowl, or this dish thing that I'm going to be serving the cabbage in later, to hold the leaves. And this is, for me, a way to prevent using too many bowls that I will have to wash later. Alright, so I am just going to do this in real time. If those of 就是如果你和我在一起就是做菜的话 can also be tearing it. Enjoy some music in the background that I'm playing, or will be playing, the other me. I don't know if you can hear the crunch, but it'll be 包菜 ASMR. And don't worry too much about keeping the shape perfectly square. Like, that's not really ever gonna happen, just approximately. Now this is gonna look like a lot of vegetables. 就是我们撕完以后，它会就是显得非常非常怎么说呢？就是有非常非常多的包菜。But as we start stir frying, the leaf volume is going to start reducing. 所以它会就是在我们炒菜的时候越来越小。And really, this dish has become one of my favorites to make this month. 就是它真的就是怎么说特别可口 and I love eating it on rice, especially with some of the juices from the sauce that we're going to be making next, kind of drizzled over rice. And actually, I wonder how good this recipe would be if we tossed some bacon in. So my boyfriend, who is often portrayed as a raccoon in my comics, he is Derek, is kind of huffy that we don't have meat in today's dish. So maybe in the future we can experiment with like tossing bits of, you know, fried bacon in. And then I think that could actually make a great single serving meal. Okay. Ooh, we're actually running out of space for our cabbage. Just cram the rest of it in there. And as a note, I did pre-wash the cabbage, so I'm not doing this straight from the package. Okay, I feel like that's good enough. Some of the leaves are still stuck together, but I think they will break apart as I stir fry them. Okay, so that's our cabbage. Alright, so next, after we have our cabbage torn and ready, I'm going to set it aside and we are going to just prep the other two fresh ingredients. So our garlic, 我们的大蒜, and 我们的生姜, our ginger. So both of these things are going to be minced or chopped very finely, and then this is where our 我们的菜刀, our wok, sorry, not wok, our cleaver comes in handy. And really, the cleaver is the only knife I ever use in the kitchen. So let's start with the garlic first. So again, I have my little scraps thing handy. I'm gonna put it up here for easy access. And I'm just gonna tear off the really easy to remove skin. So we have that out of the way. And then garlic is notoriously annoying to peel. So when I was put in charge of peeling the garlic, I was like, oh my gosh. But then I realized you can just smack the shit out of them. And then that makes it really, really easy to peel. Okay. So 我们把它拍碎了 and it just comes right right off. Okay. Alright. Oh, yeah, I didn't even need to peel that. I just picked it up and it slipped right off. Alright, so 然后我们把就是它的尾巴 the tail end, and remove that as well. Toss it into our little compost bin. And then we want this minced. So, do we want it minced? Hang on. Okay, I'm back. Yes, we want it minced. I suddenly had a, like, oh my gosh, did I, like, write and draw Hannah's recipe wrong? Because for some reason I was like, maybe it should be in pieces. No, but we want it minced. So, go ahead and mince it with me. And again, you will see that my knife skills are pretty intermediate. So I am a self-taught chef, so don't worry if this takes you a little bit longer than what you see on TV. The focus should be on kind of keeping your hands standy, safety first, and a sharp knife is actually really good for helping to prevent injuries, because that means the knife blade will, be cutting like it's supposed to and not slipping. And then usually once I cut it into flatter pieces like this, you can just rock your knife back and forth, so kind of look like that. And then when I'm cooking with my parents, they're like, don't worry about 就是把它切得太碎了. So you just want it kind of finely chopped enough so that when you're stir frying it, 你在炒它的时候, so I'm Sichuanese, we don't really distinguish between 滋滋丝, 支吃丝. So when I'm speaking in Mandarin, you'll find that comes up. Okay. Alright, that's good enough. Alright, so 我们的大蒜把它剁碎了. We have minced our garlic. I'm gonna just use our cleaver as this easy peasy, handy dandy transfer tool and put it back on this plate. Hi. Hi. There's no meat for you today. 没有. 对不起. Alright. Okay. Oh my gosh, okay. There we go. Okay. So now we have our garlic. 现在 we're gonna move on to 我们的生姜, our ginger. So this piece is gonna be larger than what you need for actually a tablespoon, but 我的生姜今天比较老, so my ginger is a little bit old, and the edges are a little wilted. So I'm actually just going to chop off large parts of the edges to get to the fresh ginger inside. My parents would gasp at this. They'd be like, 好浪费, so wasteful. 对不起, sorry. Okay. Ooh, it smells good. I feel like 生姜 and 大蒜, ginger and garlic, totally the Asian starter pack. Oh, and also, if you are cooking along with me today and you have not started your rice, 就是如果你还没有开始煮饭的话, I would recommend you get that rice started because I always forget to basically start the rice. I have leftover rice today, so I'm not going to cook any. Okay, so same thing.
Great, yes. So I have started to really put these rice reminders in the lesson also for me, because sometimes I pull up one of these videos that I've shot myself and cook along to myself. But yes, if you're cooking rice, start your rice cooker now. And also to check really quick on progress, let me know how you are in your aromatic prep, Rebecca. So I'm going to be pausing periodically just to make sure that you're not falling behind.
Yeah, I minced my garlic and I'm just doing the ginger, so yeah.
Okay,
good. And I've
perfect.
done the cabbage as well. So, yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll pause after the ginger as well to check in. And just like as a note, like I would actually never peel my ginger this way if I was at my parents' house. Like I would just like get yelled at for 2 hours for like wasting half of the ginger. So another great way to peel it is actually with a spoon. So if you just take a spoon and like scrape off the skin, it's quite nice. My ginger here just like it was sitting in the fridge for almost a month, so the outside was like kind of shriveled.
That happens to me sometimes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The garlic. 我们先把它切成片，切成片儿。We want to go the Beijing voice route, and then 把它切成姜壳。So basically, little tiny pieces of ginger, using that rocking motion again. Ginger pieces off, 然后我们把它放在盘子里. So we're going to transfer this to that same plate. Look at all of that sitting pretty. Okay, I'm going to move my scraps away because we are done with that. And looks like Sir Hal has changed position. There's no meat over there either, Hal. I guess you can have a treat. Come on. Good boy. Yeah. Do you not see it? Come here. Oh, I think the ginger on my hand is making him wary. Okay, there you go. All right. Okay, so now we have our garlic, our ginger. So the last thing we're gonna do is make sure that we have our Sichuan peppercorn or huajiao measured out, as well as our dried chilies prepped.
So I'm gonna pause there real quick. Just give me a shout once your ginger and garlic are ready. And as a note, like, of course, like fresh ingredients are best, but my philosophy is like whatever gets you cooking, right? So I've had a student who said that he used like pre-minced ginger, not ginger, sorry, pre-minced garlic in a jar, and sometimes even garlic powder. So if you're in a pinch, I think like you can also do that. The taste will be slightly different, but it'll get you there like halfway, which is often better than no way.
Okay. Yeah, I've done everything. I haven't got a rice cooker, so I'm just putting it in a pan and the rice. I've just put the rice in a pan.
Okay, great. Okay, so your rice is going, and
yeah, everything's done. Yeah.
Perfect, and the aromatics are good. All right, so I'm gonna keep playing.
And then we're gonna move all of this, over to the stir fry station. Okay, so cleaver away for now. So first we are going to kind of roughly measure out about a teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorn. In Chinese cooking, nothing really needs to be that accurate, but I do like using my measuring utensils to generally help myself eyeball, because I have trouble keeping track of quantities. Okay, so 我们的花椒准备好了. And now onto our 芥海椒, our dried red chilies. So Hannah's recipe recommends 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm gonna use 5 today as well. But if you are cooking at home and you would like your bai cai or bao cai to be a little less spicy, you can also lessen the amount of dried peppers. If you wanted to, you could also skip it entirely. That would just make the dish not spicy. Okay, so we're gonna bring our scraps back, because what we want to do first is really seed our peppers, because they have these little yellow seeds in there. Like these. I don't know if you can see. And these are gonna be pretty annoying if they get stuck in your teeth. So we're just gonna shake it out. Give it a squeeze. Oh, this one looks already a little empty. Yeah. So,
So Rebecca, I just saw your question.
Yeah.
Yes, so you can use chili flakes. Use a little bit, I would say less. Let me think. Start with a teaspoon of chili flakes. If you don't really like your stuff that's spicy, like pare that down a little bit. I think like just be careful because I think when you're going to be frying your chili flakes, the scent will be a little bit stronger than if you use the dried chilies, just because like there's more, I guess, surface area or whatnot. So yeah, so substitute chili flakes if you didn't get dried chilies.
Thank you.
it's okay if a little bit of seed remains inside. We just don't want just all of them in our stir fry. Okay. Let me get rid of these seeds. And then we want these in about 1-inch pieces. So and another nice thing about having these dried peppers is there'll be those lovely pops of red in the dish once it's finished. Okay, this is about properly sized. All right, so now, this is ready. Oh, I feel like I could have rearranged it more attractively. Okay. All right, I'm gonna bring this back. Sir Hal is still patiently waiting for more food. And we are going to just bring this over to the stir fry station. So again, we prepped our cabbage, right? Torn into 3-inch pieces, all of our aromatics, and now we're going to walk this over to the stir fry station so that it is all ready for us when we're ready to start.
And Rebecca, as a note, so this is something that I have picked up from my parents. So usually when we prep our aromatics and things that go into a stir fry, we just put it all like on one small plate so that we can see it like, you know, in the same area. And I know that this plate is going into a specific dish. So I've had other people, you know, like put them in separate small dishes as well. But for me, like just a single plate also makes cleanup so much more easy. So, so this is why everything is laid out on the plate. Although, you know, if you had a like more portable chopping board, some people also just leave it, you know, like scoop it to the side of the chopping board and bring the whole chopping board over.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that, be right back. And just to give you a quick look, this is what my station looks like thus far. So everything is within handy reach. And actually, I am also going to go ahead and pop my chopping board and my cleaver into that soapy sink so that I can just easily wash it later. Here we go. Okay. Into the brig you go. There we go. All my Amazon packages. All right, we're back. All right, so the next thing we're going to do before actually starting to stir fry is we are going to mix up that sauce that's gonna make this dish so perfectly, let me try that again, perfectly delectable. All right, so we'll first do the dry ingredients first, which is my habit, because if I actually dump, you know, like half a thing of MSG in it, I can always take it back out. Whereas if you add liquid, then that's kind of hard. And again, MSG optional. And, you know, if you use too much MSG, if you're worried about, you know, the amount, you will know, because too much MSG actually tastes horrible. What you want is like a very, very tiny amount. So Hannah recommends about 1/4 of a teaspoon. This isn't an actual teaspoon, so I'm just gonna use about this much.
Yeah, so Rebecca, I'm not sure how much you know about MSG. So MSG stands for, okay, let me see if I can get this right. Like, I think monosodium glutamate. I think like that's like the chemical name. But basically what it adds is this essence of umami, right? So I feel like umami as a culinary term has become pretty widely known in the past couple of years. But before that, at least in the West, it wasn't really talked about. So MSG, at least in the States, in terms of American Chinese food, has gotten a lot of bad rep, right? So like you'll still have a lot of restaurants that say like Chinese food, no MSG. But I would say that actually like in the past kind of like couple of years, like past decade really, like a lot of those health claims have been disproven. And I think like one thing to really also keep in mind is MSG is also optional in almost all of these dishes. And when they are, like when it is used, it's basically used in this quantity, like a tiny, tiny amount. And if you are eating a dish, you can like tell if someone used too much MSG because like it's inedible. Like it just tastes really gross. So yeah. But I think there are also MSG substitutes. I think there's some powder made from a mushroom that is like quite umami. So I'll also be looking into the replacements in the future as well and share them as I discover them.
Right.
Okay, set that aside. And then we're going to want our sugar. So 1/2 teaspoon of each. So I'm actually going to maybe add a little bit more because I think just eyeballing it, my my cabbage was a little bit bigger than normal. So let's say this much looks okay. Okay, so that was sugar. And finally, salt. Yen. Ooh, that was a little bit much. That's okay. I'll put a little less soy sauce in. All right, so now we have our dry ingredients. We just add our wet ingredients. So we have our soy sauce, our Chinese black vinegar, and our Shaoxing wine. So soy sauce, she recommends about 1 tablespoon. And if you have Asian parents, you'll know that they will laugh at measuring utensils, but the type of Asian parent I will eventually be is, you know, use it if it helps you. Because if I don't, for some reason it just like gives me anxiety. All right, so then we have our cu. So in Chinese, this is just called cu, vinegar. In American English, in British English and Australian English, I imagine, this is called Chinese black vinegar, and I use Zhenjiang or Jinjiang vinegar. And again, if you don't have this, you can also substitute aged balsamic. So what the vinegar is going to do is give this dish kind of this delicious tang, but it's not sour enough to make it super, you know, hot and sour. All right, and lastly, we are going to have our Shaoxing cooking wine. And if you ever think about drinking this, please don't. It's gross. And like great as a condiment, but gross as a drinking. When I was in grad school at Cambridge, my kind of grad student group decided to host a Chinese New Year party, which was.
And I got distracted telling my grad story here. So the amount of Shaoxing wine is 2 teaspoons. So I don't actually think I said that out loud. 2 teaspoons.
Thank you.
Very, very nice of them, but they bought this to drink. And I think everyone just stuck to gin and tonics. All right. So that was our sauce. Right? We have our salt, sugar, MSG, yan, tang, 味精, and incidentally, 味精 means essence of taste. So what a poetic name. And then our soy sauce, Chinese black vinegar, and Shaoxing wine. So I know I pulled out the sesame oil earlier. I was mistaken. We don't actually use sesame oil in this recipe. And really, this is why these recipe cards over here are super helpful to me, because I've made this dish like 5 times in the past week. But the way my brain works, I'm like, oh, if I see it, maybe I need it. Okay, so gonna give that a good stir, and we are going to also bring this over to the stir fry station. So put everything over here. Sorry for the awkward angle. I'm using a tripod and my arms are weak. All right, so we are now at our...
Okay, so Rebecca, just be finishing off your sauce now.
Yes.
So the next like 2 minutes, I'm gonna be walking over just like the rest of the stir fry steps. So we're not stir frying yet. I'm gonna keep playing. So use this time to, you know, finish off whatever you need to finish off. And yeah, and we'll get started stir frying in about 2 minutes.
Frying station. So I have my wok scoop, and what I usually like to do, because I am very wont to forget steps, 就是我的记忆非常不好 in this type of situation, is I like to kind of review the recipe steps first. So first what we're gonna do is 我们会把火调高, so we're gonna put the heat on high and heat the wok for about like 1 or 2 seconds, or heat the wok for let's say 30 seconds or maybe a little less. But what we actually want is for a drop of water to kind of like go in, sizzle, and evaporate in about 1 to 2 seconds, and then we'll know that our wok is hot enough. And then we're going to add in the oil and swirl to coat. And once we do that, we're going to reduce the heat to medium, so 中火, and we're going to add the first of our aromatics, so our ginger and our garlic. Sorry, not ginger and garlic, glad I'm reviewing. Our ginger and our Sichuan peppercorn, 我们的生姜和花椒 first. I'm going to stir fry for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then we are going to add those dried chilies, so these thingies, and stir fry for about 20 seconds until they start to darken. And lastly, we're going to add the last of our aromatics, garlic. And we're gonna stir fry that for another 30 seconds so that the oil that we've put in our wok, and that oil we're gonna want about 2 tablespoons, is going to be nice and flavored and ready for our cabbage. So after that, we are going to add all of this cabbage here into our wok and stir fry for about 30 seconds until the leaves are coated with oil and starting to reduce. And finally, we are going to pour in this sauce that we made just before, and we're gonna kind of drizzle it down the edges. drizzle it down the edges of the wok, just like Panda is doing right here. 所以就是把我们的就是调好的香料放在锅里 and we're gonna stir fry it until the leaves start to caramelize and sear along the edges of the wok, and it's going to be amazing. So on my range, this takes a little longer because my fire is quite small, but in a really like powerful kind of like wok situation, it should not take that fast or not take that long. Excuse me. So the best thing to do to know if it's ready is to taste test it. So we are also going to be doing that before we plate and serve. All right, so now that we've reviewed everything, let's get started. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna turn on my range. I don't know if you can hear that. Oh, and also I have a gas stove and I am using this wok stand. So this wok stand to make sure my wok doesn't flop around. All right, so we're gonna have that heating. That was my fingers being wetted. And so heating the wok first is actually something I learned to do from Hannah. I used to just have my oil in there. Okay, that sounds like it's sizzling. So we're gonna put in the oil. And again, I'm using an actual spoon here. You don't have to. My parents just eyeball it, but I tend to actually put way too much oil in than is actually necessary. So having just a spoon to help me is actually good. So I'm just gonna swirl. To coat my wok in 菜油. And again, if this is your first cooking class with me, in Chinese cooking, we usually use vegetable oil, but any neutral oil with a high smoke point would be good. All right, so first we are going to reduce our heat to medium. Okay. And then we're going to add our ginger and Sichuan peppercorn and just stir fry for a couple of seconds.
All right, so Rebecca, let me know when you are ready to add your ginger and Sichuan peppercorns, and then I'll recommence the video so that we are cooking in tandem.
Okay. I think the oil is hot enough. I think it is. I put the oil in the pan. So.
Okay, great. Yeah. So if you're uncertain, just flick a tiny bit of water into the oil. Okay. If basically it sizzles and is gone, then you're good to go.
Yeah, it's sizzling. Yeah, sizzling.
Okay, great. So we will commence. So first, the ginger and Sichuan peppercorn.
It already smells so good. Okay, and then we are going to add that dried chilies that we cut. Usually I would have my fan on. I'm recording, so I'm not going to have it on, but if you have a ventilation fan, please turn it on.
Yeah, so here you would add the chili flakes that you cut, and you don't need to stir fry those for that long since they're so small, so just add those, right? And then add the garlic.
So the chilies are about starting to darken, so we're going to put in the rest of the aromatics, which is the garlic that we had pre-minced. And we're going to stir fry that for about another 30 seconds until the flavors are starting to really nicely come out. Okay, so next we are going to turn the heat on high before putting in our cabbage. Okay, and now we're just going to dump all of those leaves in.
So at this point, you want your heat to be as high as it can go because we really want to be able to like sear the cabbage. So the quicker that like the cabbage heats and reduces down, the better.
Right.
You hear that nice and delicious crackle. So you'll see that it's quite voluminous at this stage, right? 就是太浅的非常多， The thing about veggies is once you stir fry them, the inherent like water and moisture inside, the water will start coming out, and they're gonna reduce in volume. Okay, so we're gonna stir fry until the leaves are kind of coated in oil. I might put some more oil in this next time. And you see that the leaves are already starting to sear a little bit. So at this point, I'm going to...
and as a note, like one of the great things of cooking with a wok, if you have one, is this really big surface area, right? That like your leaves can come into contact with like really hot like pan. So and that's part of the reason why Hannah doesn't recommend stir frying an entire cabbage at once, because when you get like that many leaves, like about half of it is not going to be in contact with the oil in the pan, and that part is going to sort of like steam and soften, which is not the mouthfeel we're going for with this particular dish.
Is that sauce we made. Another stir to make sure everything's mixed. I'm just gonna drizzle it down the side. Oh my gosh, that smells so good.
Yep, so when you are ready, go ahead and add your sauce. Yep. So let me know when that's done and we'll continue on. Okay, perfect. So after this, we're going to stir fry for anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute and 30 seconds. So this is depending on how powerful your heat is. So I'll keep playing the video, but as you will see, basically I'll be doing some like mouth testing to see if the cabbage is done, because for my range, it doesn't match like Hannah's recipe. So like you should do the same. And basically what you want to look for is the cabbage should still be, when you bite into it, kind of like tsui, like almost crispy and crunchy, but it shouldn't taste raw. And then at this point, you will also be tasting like for, are the flavors there? So if you like things a little more salty, then you can add more salt, etc. at this time. So I'll keep going.
And we're going to continue to stir until it is ready to plate. So Hannah's recipe calls this last step to be about 30 seconds. And then the leaves will be pretty soft and caramelized. I'm going to stir fry mine for a little bit longer than 30 seconds, so maybe a minute, because I'm working with a little bit more leaves. And my wok isn't on the most powerful flame. So if you wanted to make a big portion of this cabbage, this hand-torn bao cai, 手撕包菜, you can split the stir fry into 2 sessions. And the reason why we don't want to put like an entire cabbage in here, 是因为 is because that will create a situation where the cabbage is basically steaming instead of searing, and that's a different dish. So it'll make it a little soggy. So let me just give this a taste. Ah, hot. Oh my gosh, it tastes so good. So good. And if at this point, if you're tasting it and you feel like it needs a little bit more salt or whatever, feel free to add, but this is ready. So I'm going to turn my fire off, and really the thing about a lot of Sichuan food is most of the work is prep work, and then the actual making of it takes like 3 minutes, and maybe a little less. So the stir fry is actually quite quick, and the cleanup is also very easy. So just to show you, nothing is really stuck to the bottom of my wok. So once I basically plate all of this, we're gonna serve it with rice. John is coming over in a little bit, and we're gonna have this with rice, the Liangban tofu, or cold tossed tofu I had before. Usually I would like sprinkle some 就是葱花 on top, scallions to make it prettier, but he hates scallions, so we're not gonna do that.
No worry, Rebecca. So, oh, just to check in, are you able to see the video at all right now with the connection you have? And you can also let me know in the chat if that's better than audio. But
Yeah, I can see the video, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I can see the video, it's just the sound. It's probably my...
Gotcha. Okay, well, so basically at this point, we've pretty much finished off our dish. So go ahead and I'll type what I'm saying into the chat as well. And basically, if you feel like the dish is ready, you can, take your fork or take your chopsticks and just pick up a piece of cabbage and give it a taste. And if you're happy with where it is, then go ahead and plate it.
It's really nice. I just tried a bit.
Okay.
You liked it. I'll pick that one.
Yep. And so just to recap for everyone who is watching this replay, the way you'll know if it's ready is if you're biting into the cabbage, there should, be a crunch to it still. Yay. Okay. Rebecca says it is very yummy. Heck yes. Yeah, it's just such a, I think like this is one of the dishes that really reminds me of, it's not that I think like kids hate eating veggies. It's very much about how like vegetables are prepared and introduced to them. So also, I would highly recommend Hannah's cookbook if you are interested in more veggie recipes. All right, so I am so happy that, all right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and turn my video back on. So yeah, so I am super happy that it's good, Rebecca. So for the rest of this class, I'm gonna stop recording. But if you would like to stay, I'm going to be playing the spooky encounters, or sorry, the close encounters of the spooky kind. If you are interested in watching.